Today on Locked On Rockies, well, the Dodgers might have spent over $20 million on another big bat in Teoscar Hernandez, but guess what? The Rockies got their depth pieces. And while they're not flashy, and while it's not an incredibly a big move, depth always helps.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 8th day of January in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot because that's what we do around here each and every day here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can find us on your favorite streaming services. You can also find us on your YouTube feeds, your YouTube channels, all that good stuff. You can find us here and your subscription, your liking the videos, your comments on the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. All great ways to help the show grow. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been following this team my entire life. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast here. Appreciate that. And, you can ask comments and go. We got some great comments here, but Moon_unit says, hear me out. Trevor Bauer when it comes to if the Rockies, in response to our video, if the Rockies want to make a splash, go get a new starting pitcher. Now, probably we'll dive more into Bauer thoughts later, and obviously not the focus of this show today. But one, don't think Trevor Bauer will ever be interested in coming here. Think that there are probably other teams that will fit better. And two, I don't think the Rockies want to go down that path. I don't think the Rockies are willing to go down that path. I could be wrong. They might believe that the abilities of Trevor Bauer are greater than and can help the Rockies get back to where they want to be. I don't know if they see him as a piece to the puzzle. Because on top of everything, just take all of the off the field stuff off of it, but obviously that plays a massive role in this. But think about it. Big name pitchers never connected to the Colorado Rockies. There's never been any inkling of a connection of Trevor Bauer to the Rockies. There's never been, I know that there are teams interested, and certainly the Rockies could be one of those teams, but if Trevor Bauer returns to Major League Baseball, and I underline the if there, I think the Rockies are really far down on the list, really, really far down on the list. And personally, again, I think the free agent market has plenty of arms still available that you can make a splash for without bringing in, regardless of how you feel about it. You know that the Trevor Bauer move brings a whole bunch of outside takes, outside perspective, and a bunch of other things. And I don't know if the Rockies are willing to make that move. Personally, I would stay away because, again, I think that there are plenty of other options that you could go out and get to help your team right now. But I think the answer is pretty clear right here when it comes to the Rockies and starting pitching. And that goes for our basically our whole episode today is they're not interested in getting into this high buy crazy pitcher market right now. They're really not interested in this crazy buy high free agent market this offseason really at all, as we've seen, and especially as we've seen with the new additions to the Rockies, which not flashy additions, not going to knock your socks off, another hope the pitcher bounces back type of move. But it brings depth to the team. It's not crazy long commitments with these players. These moves aren't the worst call this year as the Rockies continue to figure it out. We're going to dive into all of that and more. But before we dive into everything, got to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's JASE medical.com. Okay, So if you missed out on the news over the weekend, the Rockies did indeed make a deal. Dakota Hudson is coming to the Colorado Rockies, as well as the backup pitcher here. Let me get his, not backup pitcher here. Jacob Stallings comes to Colorado as well, the catcher there. Looks like last caught for the Marlins, and the pitcher, right-handed pitcher, Dakota Hudson of the St. Louis Cardinals. Another Cardinal making his way over here to the Rockies. Two former Cardinals now in the rotation for the Rockies there. In case you're curious here, for Jacob Stallings, negative -0.5 WAR last year and 241 ABs. He had 3 home runs, batted .191, 22 runs scored, 20 RBI, and an OBP of 278, 286 slugging, 565 OPS. He's a backup catcher. Plain and simple. I think that's the biggest thing to focus on there. Those numbers, not great. Catch offense from the catcher position, tough to get. Elias Diaz is going to be catching for this team for at least the first half of the season. We'll see if the Rockies end up making a change when it comes to trades in the middle of the season. That one's going to be an interesting one. Elias Diaz will be a really, really interesting one because it's, one, how does his season go? How does Elias Diaz's performance carry over this year? Is he going to continue to be an offensive threat? Can he continue to be effective at cutting down runners who are stealing, which I think he will be. This move here for Stallings, just there's Bill Schmidt's backup catcher right there. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to Jacob Stallings. Adds the depth. Not really going to knock my socks off. I was more interested in learning about Dakota Hudson. And Dakota Hudson last year, 6-3 with the 4.9 ERA in 18 games, and 12 of those were starts. He pitched 81 innings last year and 45 strikeouts with a whip of 1.50. Interesting to note, though, his career, he's been a pretty solid pitcher. Not dominant or anything, but a career WAR of 4.1. He's able to get 315 strikeouts and 470 innings pitched. He's a bat to ball. He's another guy that's going to be a pitch to contact kind of pitcher for the Colorado Rockies. And hopefully he's going to be someone that can really highlight the fact that this team is going to be great on defense. He's going to be, I really do believe that the Rockies are going to be a team led by their defense. And that's going to help players like Dakota Hudson. It's going to help the Kyle Freelands. But the question again, the big question that will be made here is limiting the long balls. That's going to be the biggest issue that the Rockies pitchers are going to face next year if they continue to rely on this philosophy of pitch to contact, induce weak contact, get players to hit the ball weakly. He is someone that let's read here a little bit more from Purple Row. Hudson debuted with the Cardinals in 2018 and went on to finish 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2019 after going 16-7 with a 3.35 ERA over 174 and 2/3 innings. In 2023, Hudson appeared in 18 games, including 13 starts, where he posted a 4.98 ERA with 45 strikeouts against 34 walks. Hudson has struggled with his command in the past, with a 10.7 walk rate for his career, and isn't known for many strikeouts with a career 15.7% strikeout rate. He does, however, generate plenty of ground balls with a 55.1% career rate. Why were the Rockies interested in Dakota Hudson? That stat line right there. That is it right there. And I'm going to explain why here coming up in segment number 2. But it's a philosophy in my mind that I think the Rockies really need to start reevaluating, because you're running the risk of the same type of stuff that happened last year when it comes to big home runs and missing your spot. Let's talk more about that coming up in segment number 2. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that take care of us here at the Locked On Rockies podcast, and that includes FanDuel. And it's here, the NFL postseason. It's here. The bracket is set, and you can get in on all the action at America's number one sportsbook, FanDuel, and FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Right now, new customers get $150 50 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That doesn't matter. Win or lose, all you got to do, place a $5 bet. You're going to get 150 in bonus bets, $150 in bonus bets that you can use on live same game parlays. Maybe you want to check out all the bets available in the new Explore tab so you can find more things to get in on the action with. Or maybe you're a parlay fan. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. You can also find popular parlays and see what else other people are linking together, see what you like. Hey, Broncos, they're out of it. Why not go bet on the Nuggets or the Avalanche and get $150 in bonus bets? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. We thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Your subscription, your like on the video, your comments are the easiest way to help the show grow. Really, really do appreciate you all tuning in and hanging out with us here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Hey, speaking of Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Okay, so we are talking about the addition of Dakota Hudson and reading from Purple Row again here. Just to reread the last what I said. Hudson has struggled with his command in the past with a 10.7 walk rate, and his career isn't known for many strikeouts with a career 15.7% strikeout rate. He does, however, generate plenty of ground balls with a 55.1% career rate. Now, here's the big problem with this. As this philosophy continues, as this continues to be the Rockies' main focus when it comes to pitching, it just seems like they're setting teams up to go in when they're preparing to face the Rockies, to know that they can be aggressive, know that they can be a team that can come out swinging, know that they can be a team that's going to get a pitch. You're going with this approach of we're going to induce ground balls, we're going to induce weak contact, which 55, what was it, 55% that he was doing it? That's great. Over half the time that he has pitched, Dakota Hudson has induced a ground ball. That's awesome. And it's going to be backed up by a really good defense. Those two things do work well together. But just like we saw last year, the biggest problem with this, without the strikeouts being a part of the Rockies pitching philosophy or the Rockies pitching game plan right now, this team gets themselves in jams all the time and can find themselves behind early. One of the reasons why the Rockies have been able to be successful with this pitching philosophy for so long was the offense would back them up. The Rockies offense would make things go back and forth. You would have more classic Coors games. Now, with the question marks surrounding the consistency and the production of this offense, you have to look at this pitching philosophy and say, is this going to continue to work? Now, it might, but think about it. The Rockies are now going into next year with three ground ball dominant with three players with a focus on getting weak contact in Austin Gomber, Kyle Freeland, and now Dakota Hudson. Mixed in with the fact that Dakota Hudson and Cal Quantrill are coming back from massive arm injuries, and I'm going to pull something up as I continue to explain this. But that's the thing. You might be getting that weak contact, you might be fine, but 2-3 times through the lineup, the Rockies are going to be facing the issues where teams are going to be more comfortable and teams are going to be more aggressive, mixed in with the fact that these pitchers have a habit of missing their spots. If Kyle Freeland, Austin Gomber, and now Dakota Hudson are having control issues in the game, the Rockies are going to go down because the walks will be a problem, the home runs will be a problem, and they won't get timely punch-outs when they need. A strikeout is so helpful when you walk a batter and it's one out and now it's one out, one on, and you really need to avoid this inning from getting out of hand. I'm really bummed that the Rockies don't have a strikeout first style pitcher, because now the rotation just seems so similar. What really is going to be the difference between the Rockies rotation? Kind of seems like we're getting the different iterations of the same type of pitcher. And I'm encouraged what Dakota Hudson was saying here at the end of the season and after the trade here. And this is from Thomas Harding's piece on it here from his mailbag. With everything that's going on in Colorado, that's a good place, Hudson said. You have a challenge to keep the ball on the ground, but there is a good defense, a lot of young, talented infielders, some guys in the corners, and good catchers. Hopefully, I can be part of turning some things around and getting some wins. Hudson's best year with the Cardinals came as a rookie in 2019 when he went 16-7 with a 3.35 ERA and fashioned a 56.3% ground ball rate. He fanned a career-high 136 batters, but he also walked a league-leading 86. Hudson comes to Colorado with experience on contending clubs, and he feels he has finally conquered any health issues. His right arm finished the last season strong, and he changed his exercise program to alleviate neck spasms that had bothered him for 2 seasons. If I could have had 1 extra month, I could have really shown that I was figuring some things out, said Hudson, who is living near Kansas City and working with his longtime personal pitching coach, Bob Zimmerman, this offseason. My velo started to climb, and my command was starting to crispen up. Hudson also connected with former Cardinals teammate Austin Gomber, a left-hander who is hoping to put things together as a member of Colorado's rotation. This is what he told us, and I like what I'm hearing, Black said. He knows the style of pitcher he is, and he wants to get back to that. A lot of sinking fastballs, command the fastball, and use the slider. His desire is to pick up another mile per hour or 2 on his velocity, and that's part of the reason for the low strikeout rate and a little bit of a hit rate. I think he's a great candidate for a change of scenery. Is Colorado the right change of scenery for that? It could happen. Certainly could happen. It certainly is a possibility. But I am worried. I am worried by this philosophy. I am worried by the hopes. And again, this goes back to the biggest thing that we've talked about all offseason. I guess it's not the biggest thing. Can we trust this staff? This pitching staff, not the players, the coaches and the people who are in that organization to get the most out of Dakota Hudson? Can he benefit from the change of scenery in Colorado? Can he get that 1 or 2 miles per hour up on that velocity? Can he take advantage of the good infielders? Can he handle that? Because in reality, my doubts are sky high, and I'm sure it'll be fine. And again, it's a low level deal. It's not that expensive. The commitment's not there. And if it works out, you can, maybe we'll look at extensions or see what's next. But when you're worried about control, when you're worried about control issues and walks, that is a massive red flag for me as someone following the team. Because we saw how many walks that this team gave up last year. We saw how many times they were burned by that. We saw how much teams were able to take really solid at-bats against the Rockies. And I just don't think that I can't sit here right now and say I'm overly confident that this move is going to help put the Rockies in a position to compete. But I like low risk, buy low moves on some people that need to have some bounce back to show a little bit more. And if the Rockies can get that out of their 2 pitching additions that they made this year, then that's great. But it's still shrouded in, are these the type of moves that are going to move the needle to help change the landscape of your organization going forward? A lot of teams, when they've bounced back from these, they've made more moves. I mean, the Rockies have not made any sort of a big flashing move this season. I think that is to say that the Rockies are abundantly confident in their young core and their young players that they have. But that isn't translating over to pitching. And unfortunately, while I think that they're in segment number 3, I'm gonna give the main reason why I can't overreact too much to these 2 deals, and that's depth. But when we're asking, is this moving the needle? Is this changing the game for the Rockies? Is this showing a sign or change or a different mindset from the team? And my answer to that would be no. I mean, it's a pitcher with a similar pitch style. It's a philosophy that they've tried to get and that they've focused on getting. I just don't think that your entire rotation, or now 3/5 of it, depending on what the Rockies do with the other, really, and maybe Cal Quantrill can even fit into this as well. When your rotation all follows the same philosophy like that, and there's no kind of mix up in between. What I liked about the playoff situation with the Rockies when they were there, it was Herman and John Gray can strike you out. That's not that crazy. And then you had to deal with Antonio Senzatella and Kyle Freeland inducing weak contact and things like that. There was mixing it up on the starts. Now it feels like when teams are going up against the Rockies, they know we're going up against pitchers that have command and control issues, that are walk susceptible, and they're trying to induce weak contact. If you get your pitch, you're going to be able to crush it. So it's on the Rockies pitching staff and on the Rockies coaches to make it so this philosophy works and works game after game after game when you play series with teams that are coming in with knowing that we got 4 similar pitchers that we get to go up against here, and none of them are really elite level. There is no elite starting pitcher healthy for the Colorado Rockies right now. And the only question, because I think German Marquez is an elite pitcher, but he's not pitching, and he has to come back from health, a massive injury. So the question marks and the concerns are most definitely still there. I don't get all that excited about pitchers with command issues coming to Coors Field that can't strike people out, at least at this stage, because we got a lot of those. Now the Rockies are just running all. That's basically their whole plan with starting pitching is if they're on it, they're getting the ground balls. Great, the Rockies are going to be in position to win. But with this starting rotation, I'm imagining there'll be games where the Rockies are down 4-0 by the 3rd inning more often than we think next year. On the flip side, though, with this move, there is one thing that is always good about signings like the Rockies made over the weekend for both of these players. I'll tell you what that is coming up in segment number 3. Before we do that, though, folks, got to tell you about Jase Medical. And so I want to tell you about this program, this situation, and something that you can have access to in case that you might be planning some extended travel. Maybe you want to get some antibiotics for yourself, or just see what's available out there. Whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage, thanks to our partners at Jase Medical, you can get antibiotics and a long list of daily medications, and that can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Even ED generics for Cialis, Viagra, and Rivalto prescriptions. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Don't miss out on the promo code Locked On at checkout, because why? That's going to get $20 off your purchase. Here's what a verified customer had to say about Jase. I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. So $20 off your purchase at Jase Medical when you use the code Locked On. That's jasemedical.com. Use that promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase. JASE medical.com, promo code Locked On. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you could be part of the show. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to Rockies baseball. And folks, thank you again so much for making us your first listen of the day. So listen, Dakota Hudson signing and Jacob Stallings signing, not really moving the needle overall. But here's the deal. Here's where you sit there and you do shrug, and you kind of have to remember baseball. These are depth addition pieces for low-level money, low-level year commitment. I believe it's only 1-year deals for both of them. The money was in like the $1 million, $1.5 million range for both of them, with some incentives, I believe. At the end of the day, that's okay. Truly, it is, because you need solid depth pieces. And for all we know, if Hudson's able to turn it around and Stallings able to, he has a Gold Glove in his career. Maybe Stallings benefits from the Coors Field atmosphere. You never know. But you're adding depth pieces. You are adding two new pitchers into the mix that aren't the veterans who need a bounce back. They're younger guys that had dealt with some injury issues that could benefit from a change of scenery. And if it does pay out for them, great. Awesome. The Rockies got a nice they made low risk moves to buy time until two of their big names in their franchise when it comes to pitching come back. And if they get good performance out of them, icing on the cake. You need to make depth moves like this. You do. I mean, and other teams can afford to build their, like the Dodgers. I mean, they're the obvious elephant in the room. If you're the Dodgers, you have the ability to add depth all the time and not afraid to pay for said depth. I mean, they're not afraid to pay Teoscar Hernandez $20 million. That's not what the Rockies are going to be doing. That's not where the Rockies are at. And honestly, part of me is happy that the Rockies are sitting back in this crazy free agent market, because 2024's offseason is more important than this one, right? Like, at least in my mind, because in the offseason of next year, you're going to, one, we'll know what the Rockies have done around the trade deadline when it comes to certain veteran players. Two, you're going to have Antonio Senzatella and German Marquez back. What does that mean? What does that look like? What is the impact of those players coming back on these players? And you're not buying into a massive big contract for someone when you're still in the middle of kind of being in flux. The Rockies couldn't afford to bring on another Chris Bryant style contract while they're still trying to figure this out, unless it was for like big name pitchers. I think that's the only way you'd sit there and be really excited if the Rockies brought on one of the big names. Of course, if the Rockies signed one of the most popular people in baseball or something like that, one of the popular free agents out there, that's one thing. But I'm not going to sit here and be too beat up by the Rockies trying to go with the two pitching additions that they've made right now, trying to go not too crazy on, hey, let's low risk, lower ceiling, certainly, but let's see what happens. Let's see what we can get from these guys. Let's see what we can get by working a little bit more effectively and working a little bit more under the radar when it comes to these things, so we're not getting caught up in $100 million Ohtani, or what it was, a bajillion dollars for Ohtani and all this other money that these big name teams are going to shell out. The Yankees are going to have to start paying for some pitchers here sooner rather than later. So I think the price tags for a lot of the elite players this offseason were just too high for the Rockies, mixed in with year commitments. But pitching is always the different one there. These pitching moves, these two moves didn't necessarily really excite you. And really it brings worries because there are players that haven't produced a ton. But I'm not going to be mad at 1 year low-level risk moves to add depth to your team, especially when it comes to two pitchers that need to have some bounce-back prove-it years and to show off a little bit as they're coming back from some injury. I really hope that this Rockies team can help them get to where they need to be and help them be the players that they want to be. Because just like you can have your doubts about the players, the doubts remain with the pitching staff and with the organization. So good depth additions, not that exciting. Question marks certainly still there, but hey, who knows? And maybe the Rockies will be able to be in a better position because of these type of moves for 2024. Hopefully we're there kind of getting into a point where competing again is more realistic as a bunch of younger Rockies to have another season in the bigs. The other thing with depth is you never know with injuries. So bringing in these guys can certainly help and certainly mix things up a little bit as well. New faces in the organization, not a bad thing as well. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you're going to check out that Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. If you need more Colorado sports coverage, you can check out the Locked On Nuggets, Broncos, Avalanche, Buffs, all sorts of great stuff for you. And if you need more baseball talk, Locked On MLB's got you covered there. Folks, until next, we're going to keep talking about the Rockies all week long. Coming up, going to continue to look at this roster construction, going to see if the Rockies are going to make any other moves and try to see what's going to be the positives here for the Rockies. Trying to bring a more positive energy to the team this week after we had a couple of weeks of being downers, but we can't ignore where the Rockies are at currently in how they've set themselves up. But folks, I'm Paul Holden. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Go check us out on your favorite streaming service or the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.